Hi guys, welcome to Truth Talkin Thursday. This is Jim. I'm Jane. Jim's got issues today. Let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
No, but he's got to tell you about his little thing here. So it's a beautiful, beautiful day, and he's all geared up. He got to go riding, so I'm green with envy. I still don't have my bike out; it's still in storage. So he thinks he's feeling kind of, I don't know, underdressed or whatever. But I don't care; it doesn't matter to me. So,
okay. Well, I have helmet head. That's one thing. I have sunglasses on, and I'm not trying to be cool or anything, but I left my plain clear glasses somewhere else. And these are the ones that I had on when I was riding today. So these are the ones that I'm stuck with today. So there's that. I just finished a wonderful muffin that Jane had made. And so I had my mouthful when we started. So that's gone now. That's good.
Yeah, it is.
Other than that, we were briefly discussing some parenting issues and some things around how we sort of indoctrinate our kids, how we teach our kids, how do we do that as parents, as young parents, as middle-aged parents, all that sort of thing. And Jane actually was coincidentally reading a book around something was similar, so I'm sure she'll share some of that with you as well. For me, what I kind of recognized was that our belief systems are basically what we use to teach our kids. So when kids are really little, we try to instill in them a sense of right and wrong, which is a great thing. But oftentimes we pass along to our kids when they're really small and very impressionable. We pass along information that's really is part of what our parents, my parents, passed along to me. And it was part of their belief system. It's what they were told when they were little kids. And so it just kind of perpetuates itself all the way along the process. How difficult it is for people to challenge them or to change them because they become part of who we are.
Some of our belief systems they're not even really systems. They're actually just born out of our fears. Like they're not even founded on a fact or something that's real. It's sort of like in this book that I was reading, it gave the example of when babies are born, they can swim. So like if you put them in water, like they move, they stay floating, they don't sink, they swim. And
hope.
You might not
maybe
just
that one
want
was
to
right.
Hello!
I have to check that one out.
But what changes that is us, right? When they're toddlers and they're starting to walk and they're all tippy and everything, if they're by a pool and the pool's open, what do? Like, oh, no! Like, we freak out and instill that fear on them. Oh my goodness, that's bad, right? There are some things, like I remember my parents, actually they still have, but when our children were little, they had a wood stove. Well, when you get that going in the winter, that's hot. Well, that's fine to instill that kind of fear in your kid as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Like, the same fear with them running towards the road. That's actually probably a good fear to instill. Yeah. Like the road is dangerous. If you personally run out there, if there's a vehicle coming, you're going to get hit. And probably it's going to not feel very nice. Same thing with the stove, right? I know that there are people that employ different ways of parenting in that way, and that's fine. Whatever works, right? I mean, the bottom line is I don't think any parent wants their kid to get hurt. No. But thinking about belief systems and learned behavior, I don't think it's anything to fear that you have a belief system. But I think it's so hugely important to encourage our children to think for themselves. At Easter dinner this past weekend, my sister had us for brunch, and her mother-in-law was there. And I hadn't seen her mother-in-law for quite some time. And we had a really nice chat, and she said to me, "So Jane," she said, "if you could change one thing in your life, what would it be?" And I thought, ooh, that's a loaded question.
How much time you got?
Exactly. But you know what? I think my family, my sister and my parents, felt very, very uncomfortable with her asking me that. But I kind of thought it was kind of a neat question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I kind of told her, I said, you know what? I think the biggest thing that I wish I could have done way back when was think for myself. Be more self-aware and think for myself. And I think that kind of ties in with what we're talking about, because I think it's so important as individuals. I don't think we can be who we are supposed to be if we don't think for ourselves. And I think that applies all the way across the board. You can't be a good employee if you're trying to pattern yourself after somebody else, right? Because you don't have the same, you aren't the same as the person that you're trying to pattern yourself after. So their result is not going to be the same as your result. And I think the same applies to parenting, because everybody's kids are different. There's no kid that's the same.
No.
And even religion. Like I used to think of that when I was first excommunicated from the church. You know, if I believe in this great God of all, he is not happy with my worship and following him if it doesn't come from me. If it's coming from a list of rules and regulations that I believe to be what I'm supposed to do. I don't believe that.
According to other people.
Yeah, I don't believe that. It has to come from here. You can listen to other people. You can be open-minded. And you can say, you know what? I appreciate the way you've expressed yourself. That makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And then live that way. I think that's admirable. But to just blindly do what you're told, I don't think is acceptable.
No, and I don't either. I think that we do need to question things. And I think one of the points to be made here as parents is we have to be very, very careful in terms of what we say to our kids, and why we say that to our kids. Do we want them to function out of fear, out of guilt, out of shame? Do we want them to make their decisions and behave because it's pleasing to us? Is it a power thing? And if there was one thing that I would like to instill in my kids, and I would encourage people to do the same, just like you had mentioned, it's teach your kids to think for themselves as opposed to just going along with the crowd because they think that's the way to get along.
Yeah, I think that children watch us from a very, very young age. Don't they say that the first 5 years of a child's life is the most impressionable? And I think that, you know, thinking of some of my own experiences, and I didn't swear, but I've heard a lot of parents say, like, when my child used a swear word.
You're making up for it now, right?
Yeah, my bad. I didn't. At that time, I didn't. So that wasn't one of the experiences that my kids had. Yeah, just so we clarify that. Apparently, I've been called out. So
yes, apparently you have.
Let's get that.
But that's
Sorry.
okay.
You know what I meant.
It's part of your charm.
Yeah. No. But one thing I remember is I remember Jessica playing with her little Polly Pockets. There were these tiny, tiny little dolls with these tiny little houses, and she used to set them all up and play with them. And I remember there was a little tiny Polly Pocket and a mommy Polly Pocket or something, and that mommy was just lecturing that baby, and I'm thinking, ooh, that sounds like me. I don't like it. But like, there's an example of, you know, children watch us and they learn how to behave, and that's why it's so important for us as parents to know ourselves and to have a belief system. Like, I think it's okay, but don't settle for a belief system and think that's it, bar none. It changes. It changes as you grow and learn and have experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. That's how I feel about that.
Well said.
Anyway.
We'll consider you spoken.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that means shut my trap.
No, you said it all and said it well, actually.
So anyway, all right. Well, Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for stopping by.